While many of history's greatest boxers are celebrated for their technical brilliance, others have become legends by defying convention, showcasing unique, rule-breaking styles that sets them apart from the rest. One such boxer who encompasses this today is none other than Emmanuel Navarrete. More often than not, his style is often messy and all over the place, many times looking more like a drunken bar brawler than an actual boxer. But despite all this, he still somehow finds a way to win. While not all of his fights have been in his favour, one cannot deny the excitement he brings to the sport, catching the audience's attention with such unorthodox techniques. Today, let's find out the method to his madness and what makes Emmanuel Navarrete truly one of a kind in today's era of boxing. One of the first things that is immediately noticeable about Navarrete is his very unorthodox movements, as when he's moving around the ring, he'll often lose balance. He'll cross his legs together, constantly lunge from all angles, his head movement is all over the place, and he often likes to lead with his head as well, leaving his chin completely exposed. Due to how unpredictable he is, this often serves as a means to pressure the opponent. They can never really anticipate what he's going to do next. These crazy movements are due to his footwork though. Navarrete never maintains a solid base with his feet. Rather, his base is always breaking, and many times he will be punching even when he has only one foot planted on the ground.
It's crazy how Navarrete, how he attacks, and he has these mid-flight adjustments.
Yes.
Like he'll leave his feet, he'll shoot a jab or fake a punch, leave his feet, and then throw a left hook like that, moving forward. It's amazing to me.
And then
Despite being off balance, Navarrete manages to maintain his offense, which is highly unusual for most boxers. But this unpredictability makes it incredibly difficult for his opponents to read his rhythm. To further add to his chaotic style, Navarrete is also constantly switching up stances as he's moving. He typically likes to switch stances in between throwing combinations, then will look to revert back to his standard orthodox stance. He never actually likes to stay in the southpaw stance for too long. It's more so that he wants to get you unexpectedly with a punch from a different stance when he's on the hunt. He especially likes to do this once fighters start fighting on the outside or on the back foot, giving him the perfect opportunity to attack this way.
He's not comfortable, and he's definitely bothered at the moment.
And now he's southpaw. Emmanuel Navarrete is digging into his bag of tricks, not because he wants to, but because punches. That's exactly the rhythm he's getting into as he now turns southpaw. The champ trying to throw Gonzalez off here in round number 6.
Wilson 16-54, but has a 10-8 round in the bag. Bernard with the left uppercut, pulling back was Valdez, out of range. Good exchange, gets the crowd attention here at the end.
Crazy angles, left, crazy angles, left.
He threw 95 punches in round number 5. Right now, with a minute to go in round number 7, he's thrown 33. From range, off balance from Navarrete, his signature punch. Another rounds were Navarrete, and later rounds could be a Navarrete finish. And keep in mind, with a damage performed like this in front of those eyes.
Considering how long his arms are, you'd think the jab would be one of his most important punches. However, he uses this quite in an unusual way. He usually likes to throw more of a power jab as he's stepping in, but it's more of a push rather than something that's actually making an impact on his opponent, almost as if he's using it as a shield, because oftentimes he'll leave his lead hand out extended longer than usual after throwing the jab.
Trying to create offense for himself. He's playing defense right now in the jab of Navarrete. That's the problem right now for Valdez. He can't get inside. He's trying to find a way. But Navarrete, he kind of pushes with his jab. He leaves it out there for a second longer than usual.
While he also uses it in combinations as he steps away to stop the opponent in their tracks. The jab itself is pretty slow and thrown in the same rhythm, but Navarrete will remain defensively responsible when throwing it, constantly getting his head off the center line when he jabs.
Is the nerves of not being here from Navarrete.
The name doesn't matter. The nerves are up leading into the fight, but as soon as that first punch is thrown, it's like you're at home.
Wilson's had a good. Navarrete is.
And he also likes to throw it from a very low angle, constantly whipping it upward at the opponent.
Remember, there was a change in the camp of Navarrete because he was talking about wanting to have the of 99
Well, Tess, he
in
can
that
turn it on
seventh
when he
round.
wants to. He can turn it on when he wants to fight. He can just turn it up. Which is a scoring criteria.
The most important of the scoring criteria. Clean and effective punching. It's what the game is about.
It is then used in combination with the straight punch, albeit a very telegraphed straight. Instead of throwing it right down the middle, Navarrete always loads up on it and steps in with it as well, allowing him to break the distance even if the opponent is very far off. While the punch may be very telegraphed and his opponents can usually see it coming, what he gets them with is when he steps in. Even if the opponent steps back away from him, Navarrete is still able to get them because of how far he steps in with the straight, which of course catches the opponent by surprise.
Number 2. Right.
Seems to me that Valdez is just looking for one punch in the left hook. He needs to put a little high guard. You can come around it. You can go down to the body. You can also split from right there from Oscar Valdez. Just stand low.
1-2 from Navarrete.
One of the biggest things that separates Navarrete's style from almost everyone else is his constant use of lunging. Navarrete's use of lunging is always non-stop and is also used as a means to pressure his opponent. Even if the punch doesn't land, it still forces the opponent back into the corners and ropes, forcing them into defensive posture.
Like that 6, 7, 8, 9 times around.
Big. Looking for that left uppercut. Signature punch of Navarrete. Right hand, uppercut, combination. Wilson's hurt.
He can do two things. He can start off early by you. Oh,
Two-punch
he hurt him with
combination.
that. He hurt him with
Navarrete's got Valdez hurt. Navarrete, as he always does, he just brings more and more and more.
He will throw a variation of attacks as well as he's lunging, but his favourite is the typical uppercut.
When you're down there.
Oh! There's that left lead uppercut, and the knockdown is scored.
Frustrated, so he's trying to change the rhythm up with his punches. Oh!
What usually makes this work is he will catch them first with an overhand previously. Even if the overhand didn't land prior, the opponent will still instinctively be reacting to that initial punch.
They specialize.
Over time, he'll feint the overhand before throwing instead a lunging uppercut right behind it as his competitor moves back.
There goes that uppercut.
It's actually quite reminiscent to his fellow Mexican Canelo Alvarez, who also often feints with the right hand before throwing that shovel left hook. The great thing about using the overhand as a feint is that opponents often try to duck underneath it to dodge it, and this ducking motion puts them directly in the angle of Navarrete's uppercut. I guess you could say there's a method in the madness. But it's not always the uppercut. Oftentimes he will mix this up with a hook as well. It's very reminiscent of the gazelle hook from the late and great Rocky Marciano, and what makes his lunging attack particularly more effective is that he will throw in a combination and continuously lunge again and again. He won't just stop after the uppercut is landed, he will throw continuously. He may throw an overhand right after, or an uppercut again, or even a rear hook. If the initial lunging uppercut doesn't land, then he will immediately try again and throw another one. It really is truly mad. Navarrete, for the most part, likes to use lunges to get in range of his opponent, and once he's close enough, he can unleash his barrage of punches. Rather than focusing on one big punch to knock out his opponent, Navarrete instead focuses on volume, and these usually end up being too much for the opponent to handle. But what makes this style of volume punching particularly tricky is that he throws his punches in a very wide motion, and they will all come from odd angles, constantly mixing up the levels of his attacks and using awkward footwork in combination with the punches as well. And just like I said earlier on, He will commit to his combinations even when he's off balanced, punching while on one foot, switching stances, or even when he's moving backwards, but he's still firing back, or even losing his balance as he throws straights and then switches to a southpaw before continuing his combination. But a particular favourite of his is the lead uppercut to a straight. He's off balance as he throws the straight, however he doesn't throw them all with full power as well. Instead, he keeps himself very loose when he throws these punches, constantly touching up the opponent with flurries before coming in with harder punches when the opportunities present themselves.
As the right eye is worsening for Valdez. Wide sweeping right hand, 4-punch combination from Navarrete. Awkward left hand sends Valdez back, and now on the attack.
Navarrete is also fond of his wide rear hook, using it as a weapon to get behind the high guard of the opponent, and will mix it up by throwing it either to the head or to the body.
He wants Jouet to open up, so that's
Still on the 5th round.
There's that right hand.
the lazy jab of Navarrete by Jouet Gonzalez.
On the belt line if it was really low, and there it is. Navarrete does justice by his own hand.
It is usually at its most effective when Navarrete uses it to get out the clinch.
He came in here understanding and knowing that he was.
You'll often see him loading up on this. When they get into the clinch or tangled up in a position with one another, Navarrete will dip down real low and then will come in with a wide rear hook as he's coming back up. He uses a split second of opening as they are separating from the clinch to land a devastating power punch.
About missing shots and falling off. There it is.
Navarrete is more than just a headhunter as well, and you will often find him aiming for the body. One of his go-to methods is using a rear uppercut to a left hook to the liver. The uppercut is simply used to distract the opponent and bring their guard up, thus creating a bigger opening for the liver.
You have a sense of urgency because this fight is getting away from you. Here goes.
And how quickly things can change. And it's over.
Time in the gym.
Look
Right
at the-
uppercut. He didn't see it coming. Boom. Didn't have a chance to brace or deflect the shot. Delayed reaction. He thought about it. He said, I need to go down. The referee counted right in front of Baez's face.
Sometimes he will double up in the punch to the liver or end up with an uppercut to the head, continuing the onslaught of punches. There's no doubt he still lives up to his Mexican heritage.
Back goes Diaz, and coming forward like a freight train comes Navarrete.
He also has this type of step in, step back out type of attack and offense, but instead of actually taking quick steps, he will literally be walking backwards and then lunge back in at his opponent, catching them off guard again. It's almost as if he uses the off-balanceness as a way of defense, usually by stumbling back.
A 5-piece right there on Jouet.
He is notoriously a slow starter that he makes.
Navarrete shoots this powered, and where Wilson is weak at is in the.
Right now from Baez. I don't know if he wants to test the legs because of the weight issues though.
On the topic of defense, Navarrete is more than just a front foot pressure style Mexican boxer. He actually has some pretty underrated head movement as well. He often likes to bring his head closer to the opponent by stepping in nearer to them and keeping it unprotected to bait them to throw it, before he quickly slips their punch. He usually keeps his head off the center line as well, constantly using a weaving motion while keeping his head down low, which allows him to roll under a lot of his opponent's punches. More than just using his head movement as a means of defense, he also uses it offensively to set up those lunging punches, or to pressure the opponent backwards, combining the head movement with subtle steps, all in an attempt to make the opponent lose focus on where he's about to lunge. The head movements in of itself are feints as well, often masking the lunge behind the head movement first, before he gets his competitors to react to the head movement and then lunge again.
I have to believe that that's what they specialize in.
This time to work with. Get after.
Good hook. Good.
Two right hands and a left hand.
Thing is, can you take Navarrete's punches? Can you take his shots back?
Oh, he hurt. They got hurt right here. And here comes Jouet Gonzalez trying to put it on him. And he can't afford to make the same mistake.
Combination from Navarrete. And then goes back. Oh, he got caught. Wilson catches him. And now Navarrete's hurt here in round 4. Wilson on the attack. Massive underdog has a big opportunity. How much guts and desire is on this. Big Wilson!
He's hurt.
Wilson did.
Not over. I'm telling you right now, Navarrete probably would have been down, still down right now. You see, it's a slap.
It would be wrong of me not to address his flaws, as there's certainly a lot. However, despite the effectiveness of his head movement as I just mentioned, what really gets him in trouble is how often he keeps his chin up when throwing his punches. Due to his very wide punching style, this tends to leave him open, and subsequently gets caught with counters that otherwise wouldn't have happened if he punched straight down the middle instead. And when he's punching, he doesn't immediately get his arms back into a defensive position to protect his head, as he will leave his arms out there momentarily. This is where lunging can get him into very big trouble. Lunging, albeit effective, is also a very risky strategy and leaves your chin completely exposed, all while moving directly in the line of attack of the opponent. Competitors in the past have often got proper timing on Navarrete as he lunges in. Liam Wilson even knocked him down because of this.
Wilson catches him.
The wide punches are also an issue, and they're very telegraphed at times, and opponents can see this from a mile away, leaving many of Navarrete's punches to completely miss the mark. He tends to lack that ability to punch straight down the middle for some reason.
The fastest way from point A to point B is a straight line. And Navarrete, I don't know if he knows how to throw a straight shot.
Well, one of the first points I made was the fact he was so off balance, and as much as he's turned this into a strength, it has also hindered him as well. He gets so off balance at times that he's stumbling around the ring to the point he's even tripping, and it actually stops him from getting good positioning. This also leaves him to have no proper planting of the feet to generate enough power. It makes you think, if he just tried to be a bit more balanced, could he be more powerful? He is also weak defensively overall in my opinion, and becomes quite inactive when an opponent clinches up with him, rather looking to rest himself and not fire back, allowing his opponent to get the better position on him. But despite all these flaws, somehow this chaotic nature still works in his favour.
Who he is to his core, Timmy, is a rule breaker.
Yes.
I have often described him, you pick your adjectives for certain fighters, recklessly aggressive.
Craft, you guys. Yeah. I know he throws the wide punches and he does things that, are not technically sound, but he's got craft inside. You see him, leaning on the arm of a fighter so they can't hit him in the inside. He moves them on the inside where, the way he wants to. He's a master at breaking through the guard. Doesn't matter if you have your guard up, he'll find a way through the guard and land the shots that he wants to land. He throws upstairs down. He's got a lot more craft, even though it looks crude, than people give him credit for.
To summarise all this, Emmanuel Navarrete uses the Mexican approach of boxing, but adds something uniquely of his own, utilising the typical forward pressure of Mexican boxers with volume punching, but using unconventional angles, awkward movements, and constant lunging. He aims to steadily break you down as the fight goes on, and constantly puts you in the back foot because of this. At the same time, he's willing to take big risks, with lunging attacks just to give him that extra edge. That is not to say Navarrete is a one-trick pony, because he can also adapt and be more defensively sound when he wants. However, he chooses not to. As you can tell from this breakdown, Navarrete's style is often quite messy and very unorthodox. But that is also what makes him such a challenge to beat. Despite all the glaring mistakes he makes in the ring, he somehow makes this such a technically unique style that I highly doubt anyone could replicate. His combination of high volume, pressure, and unusual angles makes him a difficult and exhausting fighter to deal with, and this is why he's been such a dominant force in the ring thus far. I would never recommend modelling your style off someone like Navarrete. However, you can definitely take a couple of techniques he uses have proven to be extremely effective in pressurizing and catching his opponents off guard.
When you're down there.
This has been Jamie from Boxing Life. Thank you so much for watching. I'd love to hear your thoughts on Emmanuel Navarrete's style. If you want more like this, why not check out one of these breakdowns? As always, I'll see you in the next one.